Hey everyone, welcome to Home Church. It's me, your host, Lorena Lee. And I'm here this is actually episode 13. Yeah, episode 13. I'm honestly a little bit in disbelief that I've kept this up, but happy about it because it's helped me connect with so many cool people and new people. And I got to interview a lot of cool guests. I have an awesome guest today, so I'm back with the guests, and I'm interviewing the choreographer of Tired to the Bone, Whitney. And I am so stoked for this, but first we're going to play a sing-along. And I know I've played it before, but right before this started, it's raining outside here in Texas, like a full downpour began. So I'm going to play Have You Ever Seen the Rain? You know what I mean? So if you want to sing along, feel free. We're going to up the ante, get some good feelings going, because today's theme is zoom, zoom, the Force. That was my lightsaber. Yeah. I'm going to do this without chords, so... I know it. Okay. Someone told me long ago, sing along, does it come before the storm? Well, I know it's been coming for quite some time. When it's over, so they say, it'll rain on a sunny day, and I know, shining down like water. Oh, and I wanna know, oh, have you ever seen the rain? I wanna know, oh, have you ever seen the rain coming down on a sunny day? Yesterday and days before, sun is cold and the rain is hard, but I know been that way for all my time, and forever on it goes, through the circle fast and slow. Well, I know it can't stop, I wonder. Oh, I wanna know, oh, have you ever seen the rain? I wanna know, oh, have you ever seen the rain coming down on a sunny day? You singing? Oh, here we go. Hey, yeah. I wanna know, oh, have you ever seen the rain? I wanna know, oh, have you ever seen the rain? I wanna know, oh, have you ever seen the rain? Oh, coming down on a sunny day. That's Have You Ever Seen the Rain? I didn't write it. I'm sure you know that. So I'm so glad to be here again, interviewing some cool people. This week, I'm going to do thoughts and prayers first before we bring Whitney on. And it's really interesting. So here in Texas, Texas started lifting quarantine on May 1st. And definitely, I feel like the energy, has for sure changed. I don't know where you are tuning in from, but, there's a lot of conflicting feelings about if it's right to do that, if it's not right to do that. I don't really know, nor do I have any super strong feelings about it. Just whereas for myself, I'm still only going out for essential things and just kind of hunkering down at home and working. But I think that, when I've talked to different friends or family, it's like people have very starkly contrasted views about it. So I wanted to share a post last week, I don't know if you tuned in on Thursday, I played Follow You and talked about when we did a Europe tour and we stayed with Van Amerongans. And Beth Van Amerongen is such an amazing woman, put this post up I saw on Facebook, be kind, people. And I won't go through the whole thing, but basically it just pretty much goes through all the different viewpoints that people have about things changing, coming out of quarantine, trying to stay safe. And, you know, in summation, she ends it all with, we each have a different story. If you need to stay home, but be kind. If you need to go out, just respect others in public and be kind. Don't judge fellow humans because you're not in their story. We are all in different financial and mental states than we were months ago. So remember, be kind to yourselves as well. So I'll link that into the description if you want to read through the whole thing, or you can pause this video and read it all. But I think it's a really good, you know, like level-headed sentiment about it, because like the whole, whatever you think, you can't hurt anything by just being kind and having grace for people that think differently, you know, or have different views about it all, because everyone's scared in a different way. So anyway, so I just thought for thoughts and prayers, we'll do a quick prayer for kindness and grace, because I think that that is what I feel is kind of needed right now for ourselves and for other people. So, all right. Dear God, thank you so much for this time that we're here together for the podcast, that you've given us these technological resources to connect and band together with our thoughts and our feelings, and to sync up during quarantine and our time of isolation. I pray that you'll just give everyone a strong sense of kindness and grace for ourselves, for whatever we're going through and what we've gone through and what the future may look like that feels unsure. And also grace for other people and, you know, leaders who think highly different from us, but that you'll give us a sense of peace despite contrasting views, and that we'll have grace and kindness to everyone, because that only elevates the way that we feel and helps us live out our greatest purpose and shine our brightest light that you've bestowed upon us to share with the world. So I pray for that, and I pray for safety for everyone who's here and good health. Amen. All right, so up next, I'm bringing in Whitney, but before I go into that, I was just going to give a little preface. So basically, starting last Friday before last, what's today? Tuesday, right? So going on a week and a half of started Star Wars from the first, no, when did we start? Sunday. From the first, like, we've been going in chronological order of the story. So we started with Anakin, growing up, falling in love, Darth Vader, then we did the 1977, 80, 83, we did all those, and now I'm to, but before we did the first trilogy, sorry, I'm not speaking well, first trilogy, then we did Solo Story, Rogue One, second trilogy, and last night began the first movie of the third trilogy. And I've been doing it with my family and my husband, and it has been, number one, insane to stay dedicated to watching Star Wars every night, and the amount of, like, Star Wars themed dreams I have are just getting exponential. Can't get a good night's sleep because I'm just fighting dark forces with my lightsaber non-stop with my dog Oakley as my co-pilot Wookiee, and it's getting insane. But basically, I think it's such a Star Wars is amazing because, you know, it's just such a universal theme, the Force. May the Force be with you. And so I think too, especially with creative endeavors and everything I've experienced in music, it's like the Force is freaking real, right? And it's like sometimes I'm working with the Force, sometimes I'm against the Force, and I'm using it as the theme for today because I'm totally crazy about Star Wars right now, but also because filming Tired to the Bone, my new music video, which comes out on Friday, I filmed with a dance company in Oklahoma, 405 Dance, that Whitney, my friend, she was the owner of the studio and choreographed the dance, and we worked together, and it was pretty crazy. Like, we planned, okay, we want to tentatively film it this week. This was a year ago that we did it. We were probably talking about it this time last year, and we booked to film it June of 2019. And we had like an idea of what we wanted, but the week of, I mean, everything just, the force was strong because things fell into place, and I am so excited to release this video on Friday. I'm grateful for quarantine to have the time to edit it, and I also think like the sentiment of the song, being tired to the bone, totally crazy, going insane, you know, I wrote that song years ago kind of about what isolation would do to me when I was alone in New York trying to figure out, like, I don't know, you know, you can go crazy, and when you're alone with yourself is when you really start to like sort through all the toxicity that you might be able to ignore when you're super busy, but when you're alone, it's just starkly apparent. And it's like we filmed that music video a year ago, and I just slowly kind of been, you know, well, on tour, it's like, didn't have time to edit it, and now quarantine, I'm like, what an appropriate time. So I hope that, you know, it's of a higher design, that it's coming out now. But yeah, so I'm gonna bring Whitney on here. She is just an incredible choreographer, dance director. She ran that dance studio in Norman, Oklahoma. She's recently relocated to San Diego, and I mean, she just does it all. She is a mom, entrepreneur. She's had several businesses, and she is just an incredible, incredible person, and I'm just really inspired by how positive Whitney always stays and just keeps spearheading and making new businesses and doing the dang thing and just being an overall boss bitch, like to the nth degree. So, all right, I'm bringing her on. Whitney, I can't see you. Are you here?
I'm here.
Okay, here we go. Here we go, you're on! Yay!
Yay! So to be honest, I got sucked into watching you on Facebook. I had my little bag of granola and the phone was ringing. Like, why is someone calling me in the middle of this?
Just snacking and hanging out, living your best life.
Let me switch gears back to closing the laptop. I'm gonna stop watching you.
Yeah. Awesome. Yay, I'm so glad that you're coming on the show today.
This makes me so excited.
Yes.
I will, and just like listening to you talk about, you know, and we talked about it briefly before you went live too, but yeah, that week was just so crazy. And what's weird is like when you take a massive project and you're collaborating with all these other working parts, in the moment of that, you're like, there's no way this is ever going to come together, especially that smooth. And then for it to just all kind of happen in one day, it was like,
whoa. Yeah. Hashtag awesome. God's plan for sure. So but I definitely want to talk about that. But before we get into it, how about, like, I gave everybody a preface of dance choreographer, director. You also are like a entrepreneur to the nth degree. Like, you have your fitness business, you do women's coaching, you do social media marketing. I feel like every time I've talked to you, like when I was there in Norman, you're like, oh, we're doing this party at my house that like we're doing like all these services. I don't know, just like you do so much. It's incredible to me how you stay so motivated. So if you want to just, I guess, tell everyone, like, dance kind of was the beginning though, right? Like, where did your dance journey begin?
My dance journey began when I was like 2.5. And I hated it. And I was that kid that like cried every single day because my mom was like living her best life through me at that time. Oh. And the dance studio that I grew up dancing at was a pageant-based studio. So you had to get a perm every year. You had to wear blue liquid eyeshadow.
That is the most Oklahoma thing.
It is. I mean, big hair. You did pageants. We performed every single weekend, like nursing homes, malls, everything. And I was like, I remember being like 7 years old and thinking like, where has my childhood gone? You know, I hate this. I liked being in the studio and I liked taking class and I liked remembering all the choreography. I hated performing though. Yeah. Hated it. And so I quit when I was about 13 and like made the switch to become a cheerleader. And that just crushed my dance teacher. She was like, no, why? And did the cheer and pom thing all the way through like my first year of college.
Oh, wow.
And then fell out of it almost completely my freshman year of college when I quit OU Pom, which is a whole nother story. And decided, you know what, I need to follow my dream. I was meant to be a backup dancer for Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Yes.
When you know it, it's right here.
Yes.
And, that was 2001. I've aged myself real easy here, but there was no YouTube. There was no Facebook there. So you had to get on a plane and fly out there. And I remember sitting on a dial-up modem waiting to load the website for the Edge Performing Arts Center so I could fill out the application to go audition for their scholarship. And I thought that was like my ticket in. I'm going to go audition. So we fly out to LA and I do the audition. There's 187 people at the audition. 20 people get picked. I get picked. And ended up staying for like a little less than 3 months. My parents got divorced and I had to go back to Oklahoma. And so from that time in 2002 till about 2012, I was picked up at Modern Dance Arts in Norman and taught dance there. She let me start the competition program. And that just kind of like reignited the passion. I think the competitiveness behind me, it was like, well, let's do this. And
competition dance is so fun. Like it's awesome. Yeah.
It is, but it's so weird because it can completely envelop your entire being and you get so much tunnel vision on just that you forget there's all these other things.
And that's not like the end all be all for like dance and the arts. Like I think that's the danger I felt like of growing up a competition dancer and then going to New York and going to Ailey and being like, whoa, like I was like an oddball having done competition dance and everyone else is like, I'm from a modern studio. But it's like so, it's like your frame of thinking is so different being a competition dancer.
Nobody cares if you won some award or what place you got at Showbiz, Showstoppers, regional competition. Like it does, none of it matter. Yeah. So I don't know. We had creative differences and separated ways in 2012. And at the time I was working as a web designer, account manager for a software company. And then they went under. And so I found myself with a newborn baby and no job. And then the dance studio kind of started to formulate. But I don't think that having a dance studio was like my goal as a child.
Okay.
It kind of the means to an end, something that I could do that I loved that would pay the bills and allow me to reconnect and have good relationships with people.
That's interesting. I never knew. Yeah, that how it came to be. Because I feel like so many people set out of like, oh, one day I'm going to teach dance and I'm going to own a dance studio. It's like the goal.
Yeah, I'm happy that it worked out and I'll forever be grateful that I had it and that it was what it was. But people are like, you must be so happy because, this is your passion and this must be your childhood dream. And I would always be like, this was never my childhood dream. Like, I'm glad that I have it and I'm super grateful for that opportunity. But I'm such a like behind the scenes person and owning the business, like, just comes along with a lot of heartbreak. You don't get to spend all that time doing the choreography and interacting with the kids. And that's what keeps me like, bright.
Yeah. And I feel a lot of the dance studios that do really well from different dance studios I've worked at here and in New York. I worked at a lot of different ones is like where there's an owner that's more the business side and then they bring in somebody to partner with that handles all the artistic direction. And I think that those are the studios that operate the best, like, because it's just how I can't, I mean, I feel the same. Like, that's my sister's always like, we should start a dance studio. But I'm like, I want nothing to do with the business of dance. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't know. Like,
Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, I think I consider myself a good business person. I'm sure there's people out there listening that were involved with the studio that would say otherwise. But the problem with that is that I'm so type A controlling that when it came to something like dance that I'm so passionate about, it's almost like I was so attached to it. I couldn't let anybody else get close enough to really like run it like a business. That was really a struggle. So,
and I think too, like, that's hard. Like, I know for me, like with music, it's hard for me to be in like email, administrative, spreadsheet, like business owner mode, and then switch into like pure creativity, because it's like Jekyll and Hyde. So then it's like to switch to and from becomes so difficult. And yeah, I can't imagine then too when you're dealing with parents, and then you're passionate about, you know, helping the kids too, and there's just so many extra aspects and people you're responsible for in a way, artistically and business wise. Yeah, I think it's awesome. But like, man, I had so much fun when I went to 405 last summer, and I'm just so grateful that, I mean, I am so excited for everybody to see Dyer to the Bone, because the dancers are amazing. You can just, like, Whitney poured so much into their training and their coming up in the arts, and I think it's super evident in the music video, and such a cool vibe. And what I, like, love, too, working with you on Dyer to the Bone is, like, how freaking chill you are of, like, I'll choreograph, do whatever you want with it. Instead of, like, I don't know, like, I think that's a hard thing, is to find the right synergy, because I also am super, like, control freak when I, like, am like, I have something that needs to get done, and I know, you know, and it's hard to find the right people who are like, yeah, I can support in this way and whatever, and you were just like, yeah, here's the choreography, run wild, like.
Well, I'm glad it felt that way. It felt that way on my end too. I mean, I think when you get asked by somebody, an artist or director of a musical, whatever it is, to come in and do choreography, like, I guess I just try to approach it as if I'm going to be hired from somebody who's exactly like me. Mm-hmm. And I'm so hyper aware of stepping on my own toes that, like, I'm like, well, you just hired me to do the choreography. Okay, so here.
Yeah, like, it's because you know.
You want. Yeah, and you know, you let me have a lot of input on different things, and so it didn't ever feel like a struggle in that way. And I certainly hope that it just helped to facilitate you to do what you do best. And, you know, and then Definitely. That's a job well done on my part, because, like, you know, you're on a whole nother level with the branding of everything that you've got going, and the quirkiness and the vibe, and, like, it doesn't need Whitneyness on it. So it's just like, just a little choreography here and there.
No, it was awesome. And, like, on set, all of your pep ups, like when you would be outside talking to parents and we'd be filming something, and then we'd be like, wait, where's Whitney? And we look out the window and you're like, everyone's loving it. Like, a crowd is, like, outside watching, and you're like the hype man. Like, look at my dancers. Yeah, it's so good.
That was so much fun. That was like one of my favorite little last memories from being in Oklahoma too. It is thinking about that particular day and looking through the window and, like, seeing all the girls in the crazy costumes and confetti going everywhere and lights, and just, like, all the support from outside, all those people that were just randomly there to eat. Yeah. They were like, what is happening in Neighborhood Jam? We're like, oh, there's a music video, and it's Lorena Lee, and it's going to be, you know, a whole thing and real, and you can check this out. Like,
so
I just don't get to do that.
Yes, yeah. I think we should preface this. I didn't explain very well to anybody that's watching, is that Whitney and I had this idea, and we had talked about it on the phone around this time last year. Then we scheduled to record it.
Our first call was in March.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. And then we, like, had a couple follow-ups. And then you started working with the dancers, choreographing. And then I just remember it was so, like, because I had so much going on. And it was also, like, my last week before I was going to Ireland to visit Ross. And so I just, like, was like, okay, are we still on for the music video? And then just drove up. And then we were, like, so Whitney had the choreography that set on the dancers. We had the dancers, but we didn't know the location. I also didn't yet have somebody to film it. So I was like furiously sending emails to every production company based in Oklahoma City, like, is there anyone who can film this video? I'm looking to have like these specs, blah, blah, blah. And like literally by the grace of God, one of the production companies was like, oh, this isn't really enough time for us, and your budget's small, but I can recommend to you somebody who used to work for me. So then he put me in contact to Andre, who's like amazing and just totally also a musician, so understands kind of all the logistics of that. And he came and showed up like full gear, came to the studio and saw like a little bit of what we were thinking. But also the day before we filmed, Whitney and I went and had breakfast with Quincy, who was like Whitney's partner a little bit on the studio, and she was the production manager of the music video. And so Whitney and I had checked out like a couple different diners. Whitney had been emailing different local people in Norman, like, hey, can we use your space? And we're trying to like, well, if that won't work, what if we try this? I don't know. And like, nothing was quite working out. But then the day before, we went to this famous breakfast restaurant in Norman called Neighborhood Jam. And we're having breakfast, and I'm like, this would be a really cool spot. Like, oh my God. Yeah. So we get the manager's email, we talk to them, and she's like, yeah, I'll pass it along. But I emailed her, nothing happened. But then Quincy came in like full send in the final hour was able to get contact with the restaurant group, and that literally fell into place the afternoon before. And he was like, yeah, y'all can just show up. We'll leave, do whatever you want. And it was just like amazing. I just can't even still. And all the girls are basically wearing my closet that I had packed in my suitcase and brought up there. And like, it's like a spiritual experience when creative things work out like that.
Yeah, it truly, truly is. And those girls, we only had 2 rehearsals.
Yeah.
So it was like they showed up one day, and I think they spent 4 or 5 hours with me learning choreography. And then the second time they came through and reran it, and then you were there.
Oh my God. Yeah. Wow. I didn't even realize that. Yeah. And they were like showed up ready to work, ready to do the thing.
They're awesome.
Like gave their all. Yes. Yeah. And I just think too, like part of, I think this, well, I mean, we haven't released it yet, but no matter what happens, I feel so proud of that video. Yeah. And I think too, it's like, because the synergy of the team with you and Quincy and Andre and the restaurant also surrendering and being like, cool, y'all do what you want. We're not going to like try and control or manipulate your vision.
They were like, here's our light.
Yeah.
You can change our light.
Yes. Gave us like full creative control within the space. And I think that is like in my experience with anything creative and also kind of relationally in life is just everyone being in the same wavelength of like open to seeing what happens and like letting the force kind of like control, but at the same time believing that it's going to be like having faith.
Yeah.
Like nobody ever gave up. Even though we didn't have a location the day before, like none of us gave up. Like Quincy was like, I can make it happen. Like, and Andre was like, everybody. I'll put a crew together. Like, everybody just kept having faith. And I'm so grateful for that because it was such a cool opportunity for me and to get to work with the girls, and all the dancers showed up, even though we were kind of like, we don't know what you're going to wear. Just come prepared. But they all showed up and everyone gave like their heart, their soul. And it was such a cool experience.
Yeah, it was nothing short of magical. That's for sure. And I feel like everything with those kids in that studio, it just was that way. I'm not the most organized person, but somehow like when everybody's on board with the common goal, it's amazing what stuff just kind of happens.
Yeah.
Especially when you just leave it open. You're like, we need to accomplish this.
And that's how I feel when it's like when you leave space, it leaves room for like the universe to surprise you with cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it comes out when I like have high expectations for the product, but I don't try and pinpoint what it's going to look like, then it leaves room for like it to be better than I expected. And that's always a really cool experience for whoever's involved in a project, I think.
Yeah, I agree 110%. I think that's the mindset that you have to have just with a lot of things.
To stay sane.
Well, and leaving space and just going like, you know, I think this would be cool. It feels good to me. This is the direction that I want to go. And then going versus getting stuck in that, like, well, what needs to happen first, next, second, third, first, next, second.
Well, it's true.
Obviously, that's how I work.
First, next, second, fifth.
You know, I just kind of go like, I heard it put really well. One of my mentors that I've been working with since I moved out here was like, Whitney, just keep throwing those arrows. You're not really aiming anywhere, but you can aim later. Just get the arrows in the air.
Yeah, that's a great.
Yeah.
It's like just throwing spaghetti, not just at the wall, but at every wall. Like, if it's at every wall, eventually it'll stick somewhere, right?
It's going to stick somewhere. It might hang on the ceiling fan. It could come down later, but you threw the spaghetti.
Yeah.
I digress.
So how do you like living out there in San Diego? Any big...
God, I was meant to be out here the whole time. I just, like, I came out to San Diego the first time in 1994 with my dad on a business trip, and I was like, I think I was 11. I had a Polaroid camera, and I was stuck at the hotel the whole time. I just walk around and took stupid pictures of like the boats on my Polaroid. And I wish I could find the picture because I wore the black t-shirt tucked into these gigantic purple Umbros and my white Michael Jordan's like Air Jordan shoes. Yes. And I thought I was so cool. Like taking all my pictures. But I remember thinking like, this is where I belong. This is where I'm supposed to be. And then Palm Nationals were always out here, and every single time I came out here and I'd get off the plane and immediately just go, and then every time we'd fly back to Oklahoma and I'd be depressed for like months at a time. And, you know, I'm truly an Oklahoma girl, but I think there's just some places on earth where you finally get there and you go, this is where I know this is where I'm supposed to be. And it was kind of not a straight line for me to get here at all, but, and a lot of sacrifice and a lot of things that I had to kind of give up in order to get it. But, man, like I love San Diego. It's beautiful. It's like 78 degrees outside right now. There's like, our weeds are succulents. What is that? I mean, like people are like, the weeds are out of control. And I'm like, are they? Because it looks like there's succulents.
Oh, yeah.
And like, those are the damn weeds. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I kill those things in Oklahoma. They don't stay alive in a pot.
Yeah.
They're just like all over the hill.
That's awesome.
So it blows to be in quarantine, but I'm glad I'm here. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that I'm here for sure. And getting connected with some new studios and meeting new dancers and, you know, just jumping in there and getting involved in the community and stuff like that has been a slow process, but it's really starting to pick up now. And every little thing that happens is just all the more affirming, like, yep, you were supposed to be here. Yep, that sucked, but look at this that's happening now. And that's just the way that it goes sometimes.
Completely.
Chapters.
Yes. Chapter 12.
Chapter 12. Second.
I totally know what you mean, though, about, like, that's how I felt, like, going, because the first time I went to New York was when I was, like, a little kid for my dad's cousin's wedding. And I eventually, then, when I went back to visit my sister when she moved there, then I was like, oh, like, I don't know, that feeling where you're, like, it's like you lived there in a past life and you already know it, even though...
And you've been removed.
It's so weird. Yeah. And then it was like, my sister ended up only living there for a couple years, but then I stayed for 8. And it's just like, it makes sense. And I know, like, it it's like as much of a home to me, I feel, as Texas, and it's just crazy. And then I felt the same way the first time I went to visit Ireland. Like, I had never been there, and it was so new, but at the same time, I was like, this is home. And I remember, like, who I was with was like, what are you talking about? Like, you're totally a, like, sunshine, warm weather beach person. Like, how? And I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, this just feels like right.
But this is also home.
Yeah, and then, like, now, being with Ross, an Irishman, and I'm like, what is... we know in our souls what's meant for us. It's so crazy.
I think that's why it feels like home and it feels comfortable. I think it's just little signals to you if you'll listen. That's like, no, wait, stay for just a second and look around because there's something here for you.
Yes, yeah.
And when you're in the wrong place, you feel it too.
Mm-hmm. And like nothing works out, and you're just like, why am I swimming upstream?
Yeah, nothing works out. You can't move forward. Everything's hard.
Yeah.
If we just listened to our souls.
I know, and all the time. Yes, yeah. It's like, if only I had quieted myself like 2 years earlier to realize. But it's fine. It's all hashtag God's plan. It's working out.
There's a lesson to be learned there clearly before you can move on.
Yeah. So I want to talk about too, since Whitney like runs different fitness groups, and she online that people sign up for, and like nutrition coaching and women's business coaching. Like, are there any tips, tricks, meditation, things that you would want to share with anyone who might be inspired by your wisdom?
Like to start something or to feel better?
Yeah, I think it could be like general, just like, this is what I do when I'm feeling like stuck in life, or like right now during quarantine. But also, I think for anyone that's looking to how to find the courage to start something, because I think you're really good at being like, I have an idea and now it exists, versus I think a lot of people are like, I have an idea, I'm going to simmer on it for 10 years because I don't know if I have the strength to do it. But you're the queen of like, attack. Go.
I go. It makes a lot of people that are near me very nervous, but it's like, I remember when my grandma was teaching me how to sew, I just started cutting fabric and she was like, what are you doing? You haven't measured anything. And then I sewed it together and made a pillow. And she was like, okay.
It worked out. And it's so, and I feel too, like, that's like almost like a boy mentality. Like, boys are kind of raised to be like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to say that I do and take the risk. But like, that's super generalized. But I think a lot of girls, it's like, it's very odd. It's not as usual to be like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going for it anyway. And like,
well, I think when it comes to the female mentality, I think we fall victim so easily to imposter syndrome because we compare ourselves by nature to everybody out there, right? Like all these other women, and you see people doing something and damn good and well, excuse me, that you can do that too. Yeah. Like you'll watch something and go, I can do that. I do that all the time, but then we won't, because we'll go, that's not really, I don't know. And and then we lose all this time. And I think that, I have learned a lot from failing. And I think that, the biggest thing in not being stuck, like you mentioned, is not being afraid to fail, trying to get out. And, Lord, I've been stuck a million times. I'm just now coming out of a season of being stuck, from closing the dance studio in November till now. I'm just now starting to see myself kind of come back to the surface, because every time that we go through those big, massive life changes like that, it's like, to what degree are you going to lose every single thing that you know about yourself? And it's hard. Well, what do I do next? That's not going to work. I don't have the resources. I don't know how to do that. If you just stop and think about it for a second, the reason that we all know those excuses is because we all know how to make those excuses to keep ourselves stuck. Yeah. So I'm a huge believer in manifestation and prayer. And I think that there's some kind of happy combination of that with me before I go like way out into space and talk about crazy things. I believe that we all kind of share the same energy that it takes to create worlds, and we don't take advantage of that. We don't believe in that enough. And I think sometimes it's as simple as testing that theory and going, well, if I think about buttons long enough, I'm going to manifest a button, and manifesting a castle is just as easy as manifesting a button. And I didn't come up with that. That's something that Esther Hicks says. But, sure enough, if I'm thinking like, oh, I'm living in lack, I don't have enough of all this, I'm going to continue to not have that. But the minute that my mindset shifts into, an abundant mindset, I start getting those people around me, and I start seeing those resources come up. So yeah, I say if you're stuck and you're needing to make a change, like put the right things in your head first thing in the morning. Like take a minute, and you don't even have to meditate. Just find a motivational video on YouTube. There's 1,000 of them. Listen to one while you brush your teeth. Laugh if it makes you laugh. Great. If you have to cover your car in Post-it notes to reaffirm facts about how amazing you are, do it. I've done that before too, and people will think you're absolutely crazy when they get in your car. But yeah, I think throw the arrow and aim later, and eventually you're going to find things that work. And then equally as important, when it's not working and it's not working, like you have to be okay with being done with it. And you have to be okay with going, that didn't work, and I'm smarter because I learned XYZ, and I hate myself for failing in this way.
Yes, preach. Yeah, because it's easy to like after or to just keep doing the same thing that doesn't work over and over and over again, and then being like cynical. Like I know that I can do that sometimes, where I'm just like, well, it doesn't work because the world is like this, and then it's no, wait, maybe I just need to try one thing different, and then something else happens, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. Why did I stay with this cyclic, cynical thinking on something? Because it's like, what if I was scared maybe if it did work, or...
Yeah.
God, so true.
Well, and you could be so close, like you said, to what the actual answer is, but you're looking over here. The pin is blue the whole time, and I thought it was red, you never know. But staying open and asking people for help. I mean, there is no shortage of people like me who like to flap their jaw nonstop. But like, I even found just like, I've made so many friends just contacting YouTubers that I follow and go, how do you do this? How'd you get started with this? Why do you do this? And they're like, do you want to jump on the phone for 5 minutes? And I'll tell you. And I'm like, yes, I do. Get on the phone right now. And
That's
then
awesome.
Those doors just start opening up. Things get easier. They fall into place.
Yeah.
That's how I don't get stuck. But I was stuck for like, that spell of being stuck. November, December, January, February, March, April. Here we are, May. So almost 6-7 months. And I think, I hate that feeling of not knowing what's going to happen next.
Yeah. And to preface, I don't think anybody necessarily knows that Whitney moved from Norman at the end of summer, Oklahoma, to San Diego, got married, and so her husband was located to San Diego for his job, so that's why she moved. Then she realized had to close her dance studio, all while being pregnant. And she just had a baby in January. So this isn't just like a usual, and she already has, how old is Hattie? She's 7. She like full-time mom. It's just like ultimate beast mode. And so I think that's not just the typical like, oh, I feel stuck, but it's like literally being a superhuman of like, it already is like anytime I move, even just apartments within like the same city, it feels like it takes me like a month or two to get normal. Like, okay, here's my new normal. But for you, I mean, you're like, you jump to another planet of like newness. Yeah. And so, and I like to like calling it stuck, like over, like you're saying that rather than like it's a fine line, I think, between like being depressed, which is true, but I think sometimes it's easy to say like I'm depressed and then it becomes harder to come out of it versus like if you're stuck, there's option to get unstuck.
Yeah.
And like the word kind of connotation around it, and
it's less permanent. Well, and I fully believe that we are whatever follows our I am statement. So if I am depressed, then I'm going to become more depressed because I am depressed. But if I am stuck, I know how to get unstuck. Getting undepressed is like a little bit harder to get undepressed from, but I can certainly feel depressed.
Yeah, I might have depressive emotions during that time and feelings.
Stuck. I can be stuck in a depressive feeling and want to get out of it. But, you know, our self-talk is super powerful. And that's something I don't think I take enough advantage of. It's really easy to talk negatively and let it downward spiral, but you can turn it around just as quick.
I have a question for you, actually from my mom who's watching. She said, what's your favorite self-help book, podcast, YouTube, etc.?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question.
Yeah.
Okay, let me look at myself. My favorite, okay, let me grab it.
I'm going to write it down.
Okay, my favorite self-help, but I just finished this one like a month ago, is Wishes Fulfilled by Dr. Wayne Dyer. And he has a bunch of YouTube videos also. You can watch his YouTube channel. And I listen to him when I go to sleep at night because his voice is super calming. Nice. He lives in Hawaii, but this is about mastering the art of manifestation. And he takes a very like Christian approach to it. So, you know, he has like read everything about referring to like God as the Tao or the Tao, or, you know, all these other options. And he really breaks it down to like attainable things that you can do to live the craziest dreams that you have. Like being in San Diego was a crazy manifestation. Being in San Diego and married to
Alex getting located there is like, that is crazy. That is insane. Like, I mean, because I remember when y'all were talking about, like, we don't know where we're going to end up. And then it's like the promised land is where you...
Right. I mean, and all I wanted 4 years ago was to have a nice, solid family that I could continue to grow. I wasn't married at the time. I was, you know, living the single mom life. I knew I wanted to be in California, stuck in Oklahoma. And I did things in this book without referencing it yet that got me here. I had to trade in several other things, and it was very, very hard. But I mean, you can fully turn those things around. So I highly recommend this book. And then there's another one called Permission to Feel, which is a little bit more academical. If that's even a word, it is in my world. It's an academical book.
It's a very intellectuality and academical.
The symbology is beautiful. But it just breaks down this huge chart of emotions. So just like we were talking about stuck versus depressed, like those are actually on a tangible scale. And a lot of times when we find ourselves feeling really, really, really upset, we get stuck there because we don't know we want to go from here to here. And you can get there, but you can't get here from here. You have to take little steps. So you have to go from being angry to being frustrated. You have to go from frustrated to being uncomfortable, you know, like, and it slowly shows you how to kind of work yourself in that direction. And so that would segue me to my favorite. It's not a podcast. It's just a channel on YouTube. Any and everything that they post for Abraham Hicks, which is kind of far out there, but bear with it. I used to just listen to it and kind of laugh because it sounded so crazy because she talks about being in the vortex and all this kind of stuff.
I love it. That's like right up my alley. Yeah.
She's awesome. She's awesome. Esther Hicks and her husband, who's passed away.
That's the power. Abraham Hicks is the power of now, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
They are the power of now, the art of allowing. They are the people truly behind The Secret. They were kind of like cut out of that process, but they helped put all that together. But she's incredible. And then podcasts, I love listening to Amy Landino. She does a podcast called Detail Therapy, and it covers everything from like self-help to how to organize your desk. But she's like, you would just love her. She's kind of around my age. She's a girl from Ohio. She runs her own multimedia company, and she's just like, do this, and stop doing this, and here's what I've learned, and quit apologizing, and like, she kind of does it all.
Yeah.
Those are my recs. And
awesome.
Know what you think.
I'm going to link those in the description of this so everyone can check it out for sure.
Please do.
That's awesome, and I'm going to listen to them also.
And girl, we got to start a podcast. I want to start a podcast about something with people.
I'm set up. I'm ready for it. I actually have better mics than this. This is just the easiest one.
Your mic. All I have is a dirty hairbrush. Yeah. We'll figure that
out. Whitney, thank you so much for coming on the show. If anyone is interested, I'm going to link Whitney's Instagram, and she also runs a social media marketing website. My mom said, thanks, the force. And yeah. I'm going to link all her stuff below. If you're interested in social media marketing, she's also a master of that. She does fitness groups, so if you need a little pick-me-up, you're still doing those, right? Of like,
I'm still running those. I don't advertise them as much anymore. They kind of just run themselves. I just jump in and motivate people.
So the best way to connect with her is through Instagram, would you say?
Yeah.
Or your website has your email and everything? Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. You're so beautiful and just an amazing, incredible, and inspiring woman. I'm so grateful to know you and have you in my life. But everybody stay tuned for Tired to the Bone on Friday. It's gonna be that. It's gonna be that fire. That fire.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm doing a premiere party, so anyway, I'll put all the details for that. Thank you, Whitney, for coming on. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me. It was a blast. I love you, and I believe in you. I think you're awesome.
I love you too. Bye. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
All right, that was Whitney. Man, she is so incredible. I hope y'all enjoyed this. Your guest is very cute. Yes. Is that Alex? Alex, is your name Alexis? I didn't know that. Her hubby. Anyway, thank y'all so much for tuning in. This has been really long, but I hope you feel as inspired as I feel talking to Whitney episode. I'll be back on Thursday showing some more Tired to the Bone teasers. I'm doing a virtual premiere party for that on Friday, and I'm planning to go live on Facebook and Instagram, but if you want to watch the video and chat in real time, that will be on YouTube, so I hope you check it out there. Well, should we end out with a song? I'm not sure how many people are on here. Maybe we'll just end out with a quick song. I actually, I have a song that's like perfect for this sentiment, but I'm scared to do it on Home Church because it has vulgar language in it, and I don't want to offend anyone, and also I don't want Facebook to take it down. I'm scared of Facebook. So I guess I'll do New Love. Done it before, gonna do it again, and you can sing along if you want to do the. So if you can go, I go, then you go, then we both go, manifestation. I wrote it many years before I met Ross, and it's just so real for the love. This is new love. Sing along, hey. Past loves and past hurts, get out of my head. Old loves and old hurts, I want you dead. New love, I feel that I couldn't feel anymore. New love, you're special to me. You're special to me. Water wash over my bones. Sandy, so sandy, I'll melt here alone. New love, how real, and I feel that I couldn't hug anymore. New love, do you know you save me? You're special to me. I wanna know who you are. I wanna know how you do your scars. I wanna know, I wanna know I wanna know, I wanna know, I wanna know you. I wanna know, I wanna know you. I wanna know, I wanna know you. That's Home Church. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. See you on Thursday. I'll be back with some fun stuff. So see you then. Have a great day. Lots of love. Bye.